Hey, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, or whatnot. I am back. Look at me, 3 weeks in a row. That is an accomplishment. This week, what I'm going to try to do is look at the camera and not myself. So here we go. Hopefully, I don't look weird. It's hard not to, because I don't know if I'm actually looking at the camera, but I guess I'm going to find out after the fact. So today, we're going to continue the down the road of what it looks like to try to help and when helping goes wrong. And I wanted to stay here a little longer because that comes up quite a bit in my industry, as you would imagine. And particularly when it's a loved one, right? Like we're someone that we work with, maybe a client of ours at our jobs, a friend, family member, but generally someone that you notice that, it seems like I know they're having a hard time, like I know these circumstances are difficult and I want to help, but I don't know how. And so I want to talk a little bit about how we can get to the point where we're trying to help, but that end up shutting folks down. Like it does more harm than good. We talked a little bit about that last week with that particular circumstance. That's not everybody's situation. What's more common is like when we know someone, we're in relationship with them and we actually do want to support them, but we just don't know what to do. Maybe we'll try and maybe it doesn't go the way that we want it to, or maybe we don't try at all because I don't know what to do. And still we're going to stick with principles of universal compassion, as I mentioned last week. Universal compassion is when we have compassion for everybody in the home. So like just like I have my own relationship with space, like I have my own history with space, I have my own triggers and functionality, et cetera, et cetera. That's true for everybody in the home, not just me. And so it's really important that we are taking into consideration everybody's orientation to the home. And also the principle of dignity. Dignity, again, is such a big one. Maybe it's something that we don't think about a lot, but we do deserve dignity in all ways, right? But especially or particularly in this case, we're talking about dignity in relationship to our home. So when we're talking about like a loved one who may be having a hard time, and we want to support them, what we want to be very careful of and very intentional about is not robbing them of their dignity as we're attempting to support them. And so some ways that could happen is like, maybe some ways that you're not like really thinking about or maybe wouldn't naturally think about. So one way I wanted to talk about was when we kind of rush to fix, I see the problem, so like, let me get in there and let me fix. And this kind of also like touches a little bit in a way on that situation from last week, but in a more direct way when we're talking about loved ones or friends, families, participants, clients, whomever, and we see that there's a challenge and we're like, okay, let's get in there and fix. And that's like one that I struggle with quite a bit. So I worked in the hotlines for the suicide hotlines, and the thing that I struggle with the most is not rushing to try to fix someone else's challenge. Like that is something that I struggle with so much because it's like, it doesn't feel good in my body. Like, oh, you're having a hard time. Like it feels really uncomfortable. Like, let's just hurry up and let's just get it done. And that's not, first of all, it's not always what people need. It's for you to intervene. Sometimes they only need you to witness them, to validate their humanity, to be a listening ear. Sometimes that's all that's necessary, or sometimes they need something else. Or even if your help is wanted and needed, if it's introduced too early in the game, that can feel really dysregulating. It can feel really unsafe. So, making sure that we're not rushing to support our loved ones. So, friend come over and I notice, oh, something's going on or whatever. I'm like, well, come on girl, I'm right here, like, let's do this. I can do this, whatnot. And that could be really like, girl, what? Like, who told you to hold up? We ain't have no type of conversation. Who told you to touch anything in here? Who said I was comfortable with that? And what are you saying about me right now? Like, what are you saying right now? We can't rush past that part. Again, like it can be uncomfortable to sit in the discomfort, but it is necessary, So finding our own internal regulation when we're, reaching out to support someone else is so vitally important because it allows for us to move along the pace that is necessary for them. It's their space, it's their space, it's their home. We are the guest. And even if we are also of the space, right? Like if someone in the home and they're having a hard time, they still deserve their own dignity in their own pace, what they need resourcing inside and outside, and we'll talk about resourcing another time. But what they need is ultimately that's what's best. So making sure that we're regulated internally, right? Like, and quiet as it's kept, like that need to like, I gotta do is because like I'm triggered, like let me get in there, let me help, let's move, let's do this, whatever. Like that's because, we're feeling triggered inside. So being able to regulate ourselves to like, okay, I'm here, we here, I'm with you, let's move through it if you want to. And if someone doesn't want to move through the things, they don't have to move through the things. They just don't, that's totally fine. So not rushing to hurry up and fix, hurry up and buy, like hurry up and da-da-da, and then making decisions on behalf of somebody else without their say so. We want to be very careful and cognizant of that. Another thing that I noticed, and these are things that come up quite a bit, and again, it's beautiful to want to help, and I think it's beautiful when people reach out on behalf of their loved ones, and are know that they have, they're not able to do it on their own, they're not sure what to do on their own, and knowing that there is a need for support. But where we kind of get tripped up is not talking to the person first. And then reaching out to a support person like myself, before you talk to the person. Now, if you're just getting preliminary, information, that's totally fine. If you're just like, hey, I'm interested in, seeing if this might be an appropriate service for a loved one of mine. Can you just tell me about what you all do? That's totally fine. Where it gets a little hairy is when folks will reach out to me and start to initiate service, or reach out to someone like me to initiate service, and the person who the service is for has no idea that it's happening. So when I catch on or catch wind that that's what's happening, the first thing I say, I can't do anything until they know and they consent to me being there. They need to know exactly what it is that you're setting up, exactly what it is that we do, and they have to consent on their own free will in order for us to intervene, and if we need to set up some time for me to meet them, then fine, that's cool, but I can't go in without, it being a choice that they are making, not a choice that someone else is making for them. And again, this is someone that I care about, okay, again, that hurry up and do, let me help you fix this because I love you and I care for you and I want you to be, at your best and all of the fun things and all the good things. But when we miss those critical steps, that can end up doing more harm than good. It can feel really uncomfortable. And it could leave, little shunts of shame, of distrust, of mistrust in that person's body, so we don't want to do that. And then the last place I want to talk about as far as we want to be careful of these things, is the way that we are talking to our friends, our family, our loved ones, our participants, etc., about their space. So I am big in self-care housekeeping. We have a whole list of deficit language that we do not use. There are words don't use with our folks, and it's serious, it's grounds for dismissal, because we don't talk to our folks that way. We also don't internalize these things about people, that there's something inherently bad about them, because first of all, who are we to judge? I'm nobody to judge. Let me tell you, I'm not going to talk about somebody else, and the same could be said about me in different moments, but there's the way that we talk to our friends and family, when we approach them, we want to make sure that and I'm not saying that, we shy away from what we're actually talking about. Be direct. Be direct. It's just a matter of, are you being direct or are you putting down, and so making sure that the words that we're using are intentional. We're not saying what's wrong with your house? Don't you want to get that together? Or oh, do you need help? Or something of the nature, anything that might come off as or be construed as you are putting this person down. You are robbing them of their dignity. Where the button? That you are robbing them of their dignity. Anything like that, you want to generally shy away from. And I know this might seem common sense, but it's really, really easy to fall into those things. And that's because our core beliefs, core behaviors, social influences, societal influences and structures, those come out when we're not being present and we're not being intentional. And so it can very easily, I do it all the time. So I try to when I notice that I'm saying something that isn't really in my heart that I feel exactly, like, but it is like a default because maybe I'm just not present as I'm saying the thing. Maybe I started like my part of my brain went somewhere else, like, or maybe it's something coming up that I have not rooted out just yet. I try to be intentional about like, like, let me retool that, or let me say that differently, because I don't want to like anyone to construe that what I feel about them is negative, like, that they are less than, and I don't want to internalize this feeling of negativity towards another person or myself, right? Like, we're mirrors of each other. So it's important that, like, what comes out of our bodies, like, the words that we say out of our bodies, is mirroring what we want and what we actually are internalizing inside of ourselves. And I want to say that a little clearer as well, just in case I didn't say it clearly enough or if it was missed. What we say outwardly is also what we're saying inwardly. And so I want to make sure that what I am saying to this person is matching what I want to say inside of myself, and also what I am saying inside of myself is what I'm going to say and do towards this person outside of myself. So making sure that, first of all, like, the story I'm telling myself about this person, shout out to Brene Brown, the story I'm telling myself about this person is that they're having a hard time. Like, it looks like they might be going through some distress right now. I wonder how I could support them in this moment. Not they need to get themselves together because their house is a mess, and I could never, even if what comes out of my mouth is, oh, it looks like you're having a hard time. Like, can I help with something? If internally, if I'm saying something like derogatory and negative, even if my words are, technically like, kind and considerate, my behaviors are going to give me away. Whatever you're saying inside about, a person, including yourself, like, no matter what words you use externally, like, your behaviors are going to give away. Even in subtle ways, your behaviors are going to give away that you don't really care for that person, or you think less of them, less than. And even if they don't realize it consciously, they're going to realize it subconsciously, and what they're going to pick up on is that, oh, I'm less than, either to this person, or it's just confirmation that I am less than, if that toxic shame bug is already inside of them. So you want to be very careful about that. These are people that you love, like, care for, respect, revere, whatnot, and so you want to make sure that that is what's being communicated both in your body and outward, so things that we want to, look out for when we are attempting to support someone is not moving too fast, and hurry up. Let's just go. Let's just fix the thing, because that takes away their consent. Also, we want to just generally not rob people of their consent, so if they are having a hard time, whatnot, it is important that we're not going in and starting to do things without their knowledge, their understanding, and their say-so. They have to have their choice in what they're going to do about their space. And then lastly, like, being sure that we are not, communicating anything negative about the person, either in ourselves or outwardly to them. It's not fair. It's not true. It's not accurate. And that can be very dehumanizing to communicate to someone that because they're having a hard time that they deserve to be treated poorly or they deserve to be devalued. That's like saying if someone broke their leg because they can't run fast that they deserve to be devalued. Like, that doesn't make sense, does it? That's the same with spatial health. So that is what I'm going to leave on today. I hope you all have a good Monday and rest of week, and I will see you next week.